各位早晨，歡迎你哋今日嚟到香港創投論壇網上直播。我哋今日嘅題目係逆境創盈利。今日咧，我哋好開心咧，我哋呢一個網上論壇係由 Oracle NetSuite One Pacific 同埋18堂一齊合辦嘅。Okay, the fourth session, which is a very expected session, is from Brandon, the CEO and co-founder of M Energy. He's going to share his success story in raising seed funding in 1 year. Over to you, Brandon.
All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Brandon. I don't speak Cantonese. I've been in Hong Kong for 6 years now, but yeah, I've been in Hong Kong for 6 years now. But my Cantonese is Hota. I'm a Guaylo, as you can tell. I want to share some of my thoughts on fundraising and how we can do that efficiently and quickly. And I guess I want to put it in the perspective of the company which I'm involved with today, Amped Energy. I'll give a quick introduction to what Amped Energy is. I'll share our story, what we do as a company. I'll share a little bit about our fundraising process, and I'll share a couple of sort of tips that hopefully will be useful in your journey to both fundraising and also building up a company. So the company, it's Amped Energy. We founded Amped Energy here in Hong Kong. We are a Hong Kong company. It's Amped Energy, not AMPD. We started the company in 2015, and we've gone through a couple of twists and turns throughout the years. We started off, if you Google Amped Energy, you'll see a lot of articles about how we wanted to solve power reliability for developing countries. But we did pivot from that, and over the past sort of 2 years or so, we've been focused on a very different direction now as a company. We changed the direction of the company altogether. We changed the company direction altogether. These days, what we're focusing on entirely is how we can create an emission-free future for the construction industry. And there's, we think we have a really important vision and a very important mission, because over the next 40 years, the world is going to be building 2.5 trillion square feet of new buildings, which is a new Paris every week for the next 40 years. And if we can't figure out a way to do this in an environmentally friendly way, we're going to have a massive problem. Now, coronavirus might have slowed things down, but in the time scale of 40 years, coronavirus is a dip. It's a blip, right? We're still going to have massive urbanization, going to have massive construction as a result, and we need to figure out how to do this in a way that's sustainable. The status quo today, we're really far away from that, because the entire construction industry today is entirely powered by diesel generators. And there are a whole host of issues with generators, which everyone knows. They're really noisy, they pollute like crazy, there are a lot of safety risks with diesel. You have no data transparency with these diesel generators. But the biggest thing that we're really passionate about is the carbon emissions and the air quality emissions that come from these things. They produce tons of carbon dioxide every year, and they produce a lot of air quality emissions, PM, NOx, SO2, which pollute the air and make it difficult for us to breathe. So Amped Energy today, we are focused on manufacturing a very large battery system that's designed to replace diesel generators, specifically in the context of construction sites. We don't use these batteries for anything else. We only use them to provide power to construction sites. And we solve basically a lot of the issues that you have with diesel generators. This battery is completely silent. There's nearly no downtime whatsoever. We eliminate diesel safety risks altogether. It's a fully digital system, so we get immense data transparency. But a key point here is there's 85% less CO2. All that CO2 comes from the electricity that we use to recharge the batteries. So the battery itself doesn't produce any CO2. And there are no air quality pollutants. So we solve a lot of those issues. There are quite a few of these batteries out and about here in Hong Kong right now. There are numerous construction sites that are using these batteries, and I hope we've made a difference and an impact to noise pollution and to air quality pollution. And there are definitely going to be a lot more batteries deployed here in Hong Kong over the coming months. Right now, we only serve the Hong Kong construction sector, but we are looking at expansion into new markets by the end of this year. So that's an introduction to what we do as a company. So we started the company in 2015. To date, we've raised a total of $7 million US dollars in various rounds. We're in the next couple of months, we'll be looking at raising a Series A investment as well. So I guess I want to talk about I want to share my experience about raising investment and doing so quickly. How do we do it quickly? How do we do it efficiently? I know it's something that scares a lot of entrepreneurs, and it is, it can be scary, but I guess it doesn't have to be if we approach it with the right mindset. And I'm going to share some of that, some of my thoughts on that with you today. So I guess the very first question that we always want to ask ourselves is, do we really need to raise external investment? Because raising external investment, one, like I said, it's very tough. It's time consuming. If there's a way, and once you've raised external investment, you've got to manage investors in addition to actually building your business. So it's completely separate, right? I've always said, if there's a way to build up your business without needing external investment through the existing funds that you have in the company, that should be the way to do it. If there is a way, I mean, sometimes it's not possible in certain industries. So for example, if you're a pharmaceutical company and you want to develop a new drug, you're going to need $100 million to get FDA, to get to a point where you can get FDA certification, $100 million US dollars. So it's difficult to release a new drug that requires FDA certification without external investment. So always ask yourselves the question, do we really need to raise an external investment? And the key word there is need, as opposed to want. Do we want to, or do we need to, right? So let's think about that. And I think the second question you need to ask yourself if the answer to the previous question was yes, is why do we need to raise external investment? And there really should only be just one answer to this question, which is we need to grow our business, and we need to grow our business faster. In other words, we've assessed every other way to grow our business, and external investment is the best way to do so quickly. Right? So we need to make an assessment, and that's pretty much the only reason why you should want to raise external investment. And to grow your business, the only reason why you want to grow a big business is to become more profitable. Right? It shouldn't be because I want to hire more people. It shouldn't be because I want to I think a lot of people want a big business because they're, it's pride, right? But let's think about that. A business is designed to ultimately generate profits for the investors of that business. So really, the only answer the only reason why you would want to grow a business is to be more profitable. Having said that, there are an increasing number of investors today that look at more than just profits in a business. There are an increasing number of investors today that are looking at businesses that are both profitable, but also make a positive impact in society in some way, shape, or form. It could be the environment. It could be serving an underserved community. It could be serving, serving a local community, some positive impact. But at the end of the day, the business needs to be profitable, right? So these are sort of what we call impact investors. Impact investors are typically comfortable with the idea of a business that's slightly less profitable. Like I said, it still needs to be profitable, but that generates some kind of measurable, and that's the key point, measurable positive impact for society. So that could be CO2 reduction, it could be poverty alleviation, it could be education, it could be providing water to a community, providing energy to a community, you name it, right? It has to be some measurable positive impact. So impact investors look at both profitability, don't just look at profitability in isolation, they look at profitability and impact. So I guess it's a valid question you should ask yourself. Is our business an impact business? Is there some measurable positive impact that we're having in society? And would that be something that matters to investors? If you are, you could also look at raising capital from impact investors. But at the end of the day, a business needs to be able to sustain itself. And to sustain itself, you need some form of profits to drive that. You cannot rely on investor capital to keep your business going on forever, So suppose you fit that criteria. You've identified that you're a business that needs to raise external investment, and that's the fastest way, and that would be the fastest way to lead to business growth, which ultimately then leads to profits and to impact. Well, I guess the second thing that that's really important in my view in fundraising is understanding who you're going to be pitching to, understanding who your investors are, and that's going to be really important in any conversation that you have, not just with investors, understanding your customers. In this case, we're talking about investors, so let's focus on that. Now, the typical Hong Kong investors are these four categories. There are other investors out there, but the vast majority of investors here in Hong Kong would fit into one of these four categories. They're family offices, that's number one. Number two, high net worth individuals. I think Alvin's a high net worth individual, so. You have angel funds as well, and you also have some VCs. Hong Kong doesn't have a massive VC ecosystem, so there are some VCs that look at very specific industries, but the vast majority of investors would be either family offices, high net worth individuals, or angel funds, and I'm talking about here in Hong Kong. And in terms of generally speaking, the risk tolerances for these investors kind of increases as you go down this list. So family offices tend to be the least tolerant to risk, so they're the most risk averse, and VCs are generally speaking the ones that are most comfortable with taking risks. This is a generalization. You will find exceptions to this rule. So I'm just going to focus specifically on these three categories because VCs may not necessarily apply to everyone in this room, but definitely there's a possibility that everyone in this room has a good chance of raising capital from family offices, high net worth individuals, and angel funds with the right mindset. So I think the most important thing to recognize at the end of the day is investors. For the most part, they're not investing in your idea. They're not investing in your invention. They're not investing in your patent because there are plenty of ideas out there. There are plenty of patents out there. They're investing in you. They're investing in people. And that really means you and your team. Because at the end of the day, a business idea, everyone's got brilliant ideas. There are tons of ideas out there. But there's such a small number of businesses that can actually successfully implement and execute that idea to create a sustainable, profitable, impactful organization around that idea. So I always say, ideas are dime a dozen. There are plenty of ideas out there. So investors are looking, 99% of investors are looking for execution of an idea. An idea is still important, but what's way more important is the ability to execute that idea. And so what is this execution? What does that mean? It's a very vague sort of word. So what counts as execution? So, well, it's basically anything which directly contributes to sustainable revenues. It could be, creating a new product that you can sell, that customers have put money down for, right? It could be a way to acquire new customers. Anything which directly contributes to sustainable revenues counts as execution. Everything else really is just an idea. So patent, I've got a patent, wonderful. How are you going to make money out of that patent? In theory, we could license that patent. In theory, we could do this. But what investors are looking for is proof that you can actually do it. So if you say, my business model is to license my patents out, I want to, as an investor, investors want to see, do you have any potential interest for customers, for companies or people that want to license your invention, your patent, right? So it's proof points that investors are looking for. And like I said, the two most important things that investors are looking for are execution, and execution means people. It's people that execute ideas. Ideas on their own are meaningless without the people to execute those ideas. And specifically, investors aren't looking to invest in businesses where you have a great idea and I'm just going to outsource everything in terms of executing. I'm going to subcontract the marketing. I'm going to subcontract the product development. I'm going to subcontract the sales process. That doesn't count, right? Investors are looking at you and they're looking at your team, and they're counting on you and your team's ability to execute. So what you want to show is strong evidence that will convince investors that you and your team have the right skill sets, the right connections, the right knowledge to be able to execute that idea. And if you don't have the right team, a big part of the job in building up a company is finding people and convincing people to join your team in order to execute this idea. And another very big part of this, I believe, is having clarity on exactly what your path is to profitability. I think the days where investors invest in companies just because they have 500,000 users, 1 million users, I think those days are definitely now sort of long gone, and they've been long gone here in Hong Kong for quite some time. Investors are looking for a path to profitability. So maybe it's you've got a lot of users right now, you've got a lot of active subscribers to whatever it is you have, but how are you going to monetize that? Do you have proof points that if I'm going to charge $10 a month for something, will people actually pay for that? So it's proof points that they're looking for and a clear path to profitability. I think that's so important in this day and age, especially when investors are highly risk averse, and especially after the whole WeWork saga, when SoftBank were investing in companies because they had scale but no clear path to profitability. Ever since that whole thing fell apart, I think investors have really started to narrow down and focus on profitability as a very, very important aspect, or at least a path to profitability as a very important aspect in how they make their investment decisions. Suppose you're just starting off as a company, and I understand that things are not clear when you're first starting off as a company, and you may not have a clear business plan, you may not have a clear product, you may not have a clear customer segment just yet. But you need to raise capital because we established question number one. You've established that you need to raise external capital for your specific type of business. So how do we do that quickly? Because it may take a while to raise capital from for example, family offices, if you don't have a clear path to profitability yet. Well, these are always the early stage sort of funding routes for startup companies. Friends and family, that's always, by friends, I mean sort of an extended circle of friends, not just the day-to-day friends that you sort of keep in touch with, but an extended circle of friends that believe in you and your team and the family that you have, or the friends of your family. That's always a very, very common path to very, very early stage investment, including in Amped Energy. It's a lot of our friends and my family's friends that help back the company in the very, very early days of the business. And typically the sums that we're talking about here with the friends and family stage are in the couple of $100,000 US, maybe $1, 2, 3, $400,000 US are typically at that stage. And again, that's hopefully that's enough to kick the business off. It may not be enough for you to get all the way to a final product. It may not be enough to get you all the way to profitability, but it's enough to get that ball started. Right? And let's start with that. The other options as well could be grants. There could be government grants out there. There could be philanthropic grants out there. Usually you'll need to apply for these and you'll need to be vetted. And grants, for example, if you're in healthcare, we know that Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is a big philanthropic provider of grants. If you're in certain sectors, we know that there are grants here that the Hong Kong government can, for example, provide to very specific sectors. So this again can help in addition to having sort of friends and family sort of backing your business. And another avenue for financing is prizes that come from startup competitions. There are an increasing number of startup competitions out there that will provide sort of seed capital or even just outright grants altogether as their prize for winning that competition. So that's also another path to very early stage financing as well, if you feel that you're not ready to be talking to family offices, angel investors, or high net worth individuals. So friends and family, like I said, is what will always anchor things. So I guess that's a very, very quick sort of overview on my side on how we can raise capital and how we can do so quickly. Yeah, thank you very much.
咁如果大家係有有 information 想索取嘅話咧，可以 send 翻 email 俾我哋啦，alice@onepac.net。